Hi everyone, Nick here. Today we're doing another F1 2019 weekly event, but as there are no real life Formula 1 events for them to just rip off, we've got a slightly different one here. We're going back to the first race of the season, Australia, but this time we're also going back in time and using some classic cars from the 1970s and early 1980s. So we're either going to use the 1972 Team Lotus 72D, the 1976 Ferrari 312 T2, the 1976 McLaren M23D, the 1978 Team Lotus 79, the 1979 Ferrari 312 T4, or the 1982 McLaren MP4 1B. Now of course we have to decide which one of these six to pick, so I figured the best way was to drive them all. Same thing as I did in the previous classic race that we did here. So the 1972 Team Lotus car is an interesting one. I quite enjoyed driving it, but it just had no grip whatsoever. This corner here, absolute nightmare. If you've driven this track in the wet, on inters, you'll know you can't go full throttle through there. That's what this car feels like. It feels like a modern F1 car in the wet. And as such it was quite fun to drive, drifting round corners and having no grip, but no confidence whatsoever to actually try and do a competent lap time, unfortunately. So next we move on to the 1976 Ferrari. Now this car is definitely better than the 1972 Lotus. It had more straight line speed, it had more grip through the corners, but was still a long way off modern F1 standards from that kind of thing. Still quite fun to drive, and I did feel like I could push a little bit more than I could with the 1972 Lotus, but it did threaten to bite you pretty much through every corner when you did overstep the line, which I did quite a few times, unfortunately. Still pretty decent for a car that didn't even win the World Championship, as in 1976 that was won by McLaren. Now the McLaren in theory should probably be about the same as the 1976 Ferrari, because they were battling it out all that year, but I found the McLaren to be nowhere near as good. It felt slightly down on power. It did feel like it went through the corners ever so slightly better, so maybe at a different circuit it would stand up a lot better, but I didn't get on with this car anywhere near as much as the Ferrari. I just didn't have any confidence in it. It also has 6 gears instead of 5 gears, which all of the other cars up to now had, and I think that threw me for a little while where I was in the wrong gears through most of the corner. So decent enough, but not my favourite. The 1978 Lotus though is definitely a step forward. It's got more straight line speed, it's got more grip. For example, I could go through turn 8 flat, unlike in the previous 3 cars, so that was good. And it started to feel a little bit more like a modern Formula 1 car. And this was the first car I'd driven up to this point where I felt I could actually push and try and attack some of these corners, which, is a good thing. So, a decent car. Also, it has the classic black and gold livery, which I think gives it at least 15 points in whatever scale I decide to rate these cars on. Stepping forward 1 year to the 1979 Ferrari, and this was an interesting one because it did feel like a step forward on the 1978 Lotus, but I think it felt like it had more power, so it was faster in a straight line, but then probably about the same amount as grip as the previous car. So that meant, even though it was faster, it was an almighty handful to actually go through any corners, basically. Didn't seem to brake quite as well, and I don't know, it didn't feel as good a car, but it definitely felt faster, if that makes any sense. So I feel like if I'd stuck at it, I'd have probably been able to do some better times with it. The final car we're going to drive here is the 1982 McLaren, and you can really tell in those extra 3 years since the 1979 Ferrari that there'd been some advancements, not least the heads-up display in the bottom right corners become digital. Excellent. So this car, it might not quite have the straight line speed 1979 Ferrari had, but what it does have is cornering ability. It can do corners, it has grip, it has downforce, it's all these things that you take for granted when driving modern F1 cars. It felt like the first one where I could, actually go out, lap, improve my times, go for it, and really, really go for some decent times. So those are our 6 contenders, but which one would we actually pick for the classic event? So obviously we have to compare how they all did, so we're going to compare the fastest lap in all 6 cars and see which car wins. And if you are a betting person, have a go and guess which one you think will be in the lead at the end. You won't be particularly surprised, but spoilers. So we've gone through turn 1 and you can see that the bottom row are already ahead of the top row. The top row you can pretty much discount straight away, they're not going to be on the pace here. But it's going to be a little bit tighter between the 3 cars at the bottom, the 1978 Lotus, the 1979 Ferrari and the 1982 McLaren. And also just note as well, the camera angle on the bottom 3 cars seems to, over the years, just get more and more close to the car and more close to the actual driver. Any closer and you'd be on the actual driver's head. Love it, it's really nice. Gives you a really good sense of speed. Okay, so we're getting towards the end of Sector 2. The McLaren's just gone through that turn and 1972 Lotus is just doing that, so that's a little bit off the pace there, I'm afraid. But that's 10 years of advances in technology for you, I suppose. So we go through this fast sector in the 1982 McLaren. Trickier in some of the older cars, and it's quite tricky to downshift in some of them as well. Found using the manual gearboxes, trying to make sure the revs are right and all that kind of stuff. And if I had a clutch, I'd be using that, but I don't. And I don't drive an actual car, so I don't understand how manual gearboxes actually work. So, the McLaren's got now 2 corners left through the penultimate corner. You can see the lead it's got on some of the other cars here. Can it hold on to it during the last corner? Looks like it can. Straight line to the finish. So the McLaren from 1982 is going to come in first. 1979 Ferrari in second. 1978 Lotus is third and bringing up the rear. We've got the 1976 Ferrari, 1976 McLaren and the 1972 Lotus as I celebrate by crashing into a wall. And there you go, those are the times in the end. Just about into the 1:39s with the McLaren in 1982 and nearly 10 seconds off the pace in the 1972 Lotus. Oof. So I picked the McLaren obviously. Practice wasn't anything to write home about, and a good thing because I lost the recording by mistake, but I got all of the competition points. That's good news. So into qualifying then, and obviously I was going to try and set a time somewhat approximating where I was in time trial. So I was looking for sub 140. My first lap was a 141.2 and wasn't particularly great, but the beauty of these tyres is you can keep on pushing on them. So I invalidated my second lap, and here's my third flying lap. So we're going to look for the black box on the left, brake there, down to 4th gear for the first corner. Careful on the throttle going through turn 2 because you can slightly slide like I did there and then bomb it down to turn 3. You're looking about 120 metres or so down to 2nd gear. Little lock up, very rare to actually lock up with brakes in this car, not sure why. 3rd gear through there. This you can go flat, but it's just not worth it unless you're absolute all out attack. So a little bit of a lift. Here down to 4th gear. Cut as much on the possible as there. You can do this flat in this car, it's fine. Accelerate up through the gears, you're going to get up to 6th gear. Just before the white lines end is where you brake, down into 3rd gear. Take it tight, get on the curb, accelerate, hold it, don't hit the wall on the outside because that'll obviously cost you. Then down the straight, up into 6th gear. You're going to go about 50 metres or so, down into 5th, take as much of the first corner, straighten it out, and then get through there. Don't really want to go on the curb on the outside there, but it won't kill you as badly as a modern car. About 100 odd metres here, 110 maybe, down into 3rd gear. Accelerate. This one you're going to go into 4th gear and then either lift or a little tap of the brakes maybe just to get it turned. And then here, quite a way out, you want to be braking down to 2nd, get it turned, accelerate, third gear, hold it, patient, go down the straight. And we've done 2 purple sectors. We're going to beat our previous time by 1.5 seconds, and we're going to go with a 1:39.775, which is actually faster than my time trial time. So, you know, that's pretty decent if you ask me. So, into the race itself, we've got 15 people in total in the lobby, and we've got a mixture of cars. I was expecting it to just be McLarens, but no, we've got a Lotus to our right as well. So, how is this going to go? Red lights, out, and away we go. We get a much better start than Dave Alainen in front of us. He's got a bit of a slow one, and Fabrice in the Lotus has managed to jump us there. We weren't able to actually do anything with our good start though, although Dave Alainen gets a bit of a wobble there through turn 1, and we've managed to take the place. We've got a run on Fabrice here. Going to see if we can go around the outside because he seems to be defending. We're going to go for it, but he's got the inside line covered and then comes across us. So thanks for that, Fabrice. So we're going to have to try and stick on his tail, and also because he's in a Lotus, we know he's going to be slower than us, so we want to get past him as quickly as possible. So we've got a straight line advantage over him here. We're getting through here, but can't really do anything through it. So this bit here is not really straight, but we're going to have to lift off because he's really slow through there and we're not, and it's possibly going to cost us position. We've got red arrows behind us. We're looking at the inside, but nothing doing there. Run a little bit wide there. See if we can get past him on the straight here. Go for the inside. He cuts across us and puts us on the grass. Again, cheers Fabrice. Just why? So that costs us a place to Dave Alainen, who's going to look for the inside against Fabrice as well. He's running wide. He's already on the grass. Comes across the track, then spears left and damages our front wing. Fortunately, it doesn't actually look like it's damaged. It comes up on the damage thing, but there's no visible damage, and I didn't actually feel any loss of downforce or anything like that. So, Yoram's got through because of that little collision with Fabrice, but we got past Fabrice, so we're still, after all that, in 5th place. So, very eventful for not very much gain there. But it does mean that all of the cars in front of us are now McLarens. So, even though there were lots of cars that weren't McLarens at the start, it's kind of ended up that way anyway. So, halfway through lap 2, we're set in a purple middle sector and we're on the trail of the 2 cars in front of us. Someone has had a bit of a moment though. Looks like they're going to lose 1 place, 2 place. Can we get through? No, he shuts the door on us, so we're going to try and go up the inside. Little bit of contact there. Then Yoram loses it completely, touches us there as we go through. And that's us up into 4th place, a completely deserved warning. Obviously that was entirely our fault that someone else span into us, but you know, this game and all. So, Edexis, can we get him down the pit straight? We're in his slipstream, but even though he puts a wheel on the grass, it is sometimes quite hard to judge how wide these cars are compared to the modern cars. We're not really going to get enough of a run on him into turn 1. Of course, we've got no DRS either, so we've actually got to overtake cars just on our own ability. So, down into turn 3, we've got a much better run here. We're going to go for the inside line, get it turned in, we go for the corner. He just turns into us, that's much appreciated. Hits us again there, not really sure what you're up to there, Dexis. And we've got the move done, and we are now up into 3rd place. And now have to chase after Dave Alainen, who is 2.5 seconds ahead of us. So fast forward to lap 4, and by this point I was all over the back of Dave Alainen, who I like to think is a guy called Dave who's just really into Finnish drivers. We've got a good chance, and we're thinking, okay, well down the pit straight, if we can get a good exit through the last corner, we could be onto something here. But I don't know if it was dirty air or something, that just seemed to get horrible understeer through that last corner, and he's just gone. So absolutely no chance of us making a move into turn 1 there, even though I was doing the fastest lap of the race. But the gap had reduced. We were less than a second behind at that point, and as we came through to the end of lap 5, we had the same plan again, get a good exit in the last corner. This time we were aware of the dirty air. Dave Alainen actually goes wide there, puts a wheel on the grass, so we're going to go for the slipstream, put the fuel into rich to try and get that extra boost. We've got the outside line, but we've got the overspeed, and he decides to pull in behind us. and just let us have the corner. And that is how you get overtaken. So David Lynham, shout out to you. Very fair driving. So lap 8, and we were a few seconds behind Freak 15, who is in the lead. But we managed to take a second and a half out of him in this one lap, and we also did the fastest lap of a race, which was 1:42.8. So we had 6 laps to go to the end of the race, and we were catching at a fast enough rate to be able to get up to the leader. So my plan was to just keep on doing those times and put some pressure on, because maybe it will have an impact. And as I say that, we've got some yellow flags, and who's that in front of us? It's the leader, facing literally the wrong way. So that's the easiest overtake we're going to have all day, and that's for the lead. So we now are leading the race with a 3 or so second gap back to David Lynham. And from there on it was just a case of bringing it home, navigating the absolutely abysmally slow AI. They're slow anyway, and they picked the 1972 Lotus to drive in. So yeah, they're not particularly fast. Here's one in the 76 Ferrari, decides to let me go by lifting off directly in front of me. No idea what you're trying there, but you know, standard and no damage done. So yeah, on the way to the win, we managed to do the fastest lap on my penultimate lap. Put the fuel on rich and did a 1:41.8. That was the second faster than I'd managed anywhere else in the race, so pretty decent. And from there on I just cruised it home. Got to the end of the 15th lap, no damage, no messing around, and we're going to take the win. Hard earned win from 5th on the grid, some decent overtakes, some decent racing, and I thoroughly enjoyed that. So more events like this please, Codemasters. I do notice that the 1988 McLaren up to all the 90s cars haven't been used yet, so hint hint for the next weekly event please. Wouldn't mind seeing the F2 cars make an appearance as well. Haven't seen them in any weekly events or anything like that, so would be good to give them another whirl after having driven them for a few laps in career mode anyway. So our overall score in the end was 405,110 points. That's not too bad. We've got nearly 300,000 of those for the total time. Got a decent position score for winning. Obviously no assists, so decent score on that, and a decent qualifying time as well. So 405,000 points ended up being 72nd on the leaderboard. So top 100, top 1%. That's absolutely nuts. I don't know whether I'll finish in 72nd because I did my race on Saturday, and there's still plenty of races to be done on a Sunday and plenty of opportunity for people to beat my score on a Sunday, but who cares? I mean, I'm not going to be outside the top 1,000 or anything. That's, you know, my best result for ages, so I will take that anytime. Anyway, that's the end of this video. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, then don't forget to like the video, and if you haven't already subscribed to the channel, then get right on that. You know it makes sense. And let me know in the comments below what you thought of the race. Have you done this particular weekly event? Did you choose a different car than the 1982 McLaren? Bold strategy if you did. Let me know if it paid off. But until next time, and the next video, goodbye.